Good evening, boys and ghouls, and welcome to some Castlevania.
Castlevania was, of course, released in 1987 by Konami, whose status as a game developer is absolutely legendary. And I laughingly refer to this as a speed run, but, only in a very titular sense, because not only did I make tons and tons of major rookie mistakes, I also died and had to continue twice before I finished, and what's going on here? There's no music. Can someone at least whistle? Because for some reason, I'm playing this on a retro bit system, which I really like actually, because my retro bit will actually play Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, even though the system was only, I think, somewhere between 20 and 25 bucks, which is awesome because Castlevania 3 is pretty much the gold standard by which we measure consoles that can... Whoa, what happened there? Weird. Anyway, by which we know is the best clone console. Anyway, I'm going to try some relatively intermediate, maybe even advanced tactics like this one right here, which I fail the first time. And I told myself, I'm going to try it one more time, and I get it. It takes a little practice, and unfortunately, even though I'm pretty familiar with Castlevania and most of the, at least beginners, tactics for dealing with the stages and the bosses, there needs to be a perfect combination pretty much almost all the time of the right level of confidence, patience, and even luck. Because if you're not... sometimes power-ups will appear or they won't. A lot of this is luck-based. And those who are the most experienced are the ones who will have the easiest time with Castlevania. Okay, the good part here is that the music does come back for the rest of the game, but still, it's kind of annoying when the music cuts out like that. Castlevania does at least have a fairly... messed up again. It does have a fairly tolerable learning curve. The game doesn't get crazy difficult until much later in the game, the stage where we fight Frankenstein's monster. You'll see this later, but one of the biggest obstacles in playing Castlevania is being very careful that you don't pick up a weapon you don't want. It's pretty much kind of a sad truth that in every Castlevania that's ever been made, the knife is by far the most useless damn weapon ever. It's pathetically, sadly, a very worthless weapon. Except in the Japanese version of Dracula's Curse, in which the character Grant Dynasty can throw unlimited daggers without using hearts. But you know what? The Japanese version of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse was actually a lot easier than the one we got here in North America, in the USA. This part is a little tricky, but it didn't take me that long to figure out the perfect placement for your pixelation. Perfect pixelation placement is what will save you every single time. I don't even know why I bothered destroying this brick here. I already got both multipliers. The multipliers are a lifesaver, especially when you're fighting with Frankenstein's monster and Death. Because Death, you'll see him in a couple more stages because he is a certified nightmare. But it always shows how good of a gamer you are when you get to the boss and you've got your weapon of choice. Mine's, of course, the holy water, the cheapest one of all, if I'm being honest. I like speedrunning Castlevania because, see, I've never seen that before. I've never seen a cross fall during a boss battle, and I was just, wow. If I get this, will it destroy the boss instantaneously? And of course it didn't. I wonder how many people see that happen during a speedrun. I'd also like to say, compared to the guys at Games Done Quick, I'm less than an amateur. Those guys at GDC, Games Done Quick, those guys are masters. This is one of the best tracks in the game right here. It's absolutely awesome. It was covered by the band The Advantage, and also on Vomitron's album No Nest for the Wicked. I love Vomitron. They're probably my favorite band for covering music from the NES. I love these goofy skeletons that throw their bones. It reminds me of Aaron Hansen, Ego Raptor, talking about how these goofy skeletons. I mean, they're bags of bones, but as far as I can tell, they don't have bags of bones. They don't have unlimited bones. You've only got, on your body, you've only got 2 humeruses. Humeruses? I've never used that word as a plural before. You only have 2 sets of, you only have your left humerus, your right humerus, your left radius, and your right radius. You have your femur, you have your left femur and right femur, and you have your tibia and fibula, and your other tibia and fibula. So, yeah, you don't have that many bones. It's kind of like in Mortal Kombat, where you uppercut somebody and they explode into like thousands of rib cages and 45 bones that are only long enough to go in your leg or your arm. But Castlevania is, to this day, even though the game's 34 years old, it's still fun. And it's still considerably difficult, as long as you're playing the North American USA version, because this game is still fun, but unless you've got enough experience, it can still be a beast. And like you're going to see throughout this run, you'll see me making rookie mistakes left and right, and some of them, I would dare say that most of them are unintentional anyway. A few of them have to do with me just pressing the damn D-pad in the wrong direction. Because if you do that, well, you're kind of screwed. Oh, these stupid crows are the worst enemy. In the late 80s, our worst enemies were flying enemies, whether it was Castlevania or Ninja Gaiden, Medusa heads, crows, ravens, eagles, you name it. It was the bane of our existence, man. I mean, think about that situation in 6-2 in Ninja Gaiden, where you've got an enemy standing there and you've got unlimited amounts of eagles flying at you, and it's almost impossible to get across unless you've got your, I think it's your not the windmill slash, but something else. Yeah, it might be windmill slash. I forgot the exact name. But I try to do a cool pose at the end of every stage after I'm done with each boss. Now this is the part of the game where it starts to become unforgivingly difficult. Right after Simon falls down, around 600 feet, a distance that would logically kill any human being. Splat! But he's a vampire hunter. It's just funny how he can survive a 600-foot drop, but he can't, for the life of him, survive falling in the water. Maybe it's because all of the gear. Maybe it's because of his Metal Gear. Yeah. Maybe it's because of the Metal Gear Snake. Oh yeah. Metal Gear, yeah. So you'll notice, see how that bat just spawned, that was because the bat will spawn in the air where you are at that particular moment on that platform. So that's why sometimes it's a good idea to jump, so that you don't have to even worry about that bat at all, because by the time you come back down, the bat will be going over your head while you're ducking on the platform. This whole section is really tough. Fortunately, this section right here is extremely merciful. There's just a few things that you should know. Be careful when killing these stupid hunchbacks. That's what they're called, I think. Because they'll drop an axe. And you know what? An axe is almost completely worthless against Frankenstein's monster, because you can only shoot one at a time. And unlike the holy water, the flare won't linger. That's the great thing about the holy water, is that it will give you several hits for every, frame or whatever. And when you see that dragon there, just keep walking. Just keep going forward. Otherwise, you will most likely be hit. And this is, of course, the hallway of... This is definitely some sort of gauntlet right here. And, of course, there's a meat right there that you'll need for sure. And, unfortunately, I did not get through this with my holy water the first time through. And it absolutely broke my heart and my head, because I wasn't screaming at the top of my lungs, but I was a little annoyed. I knew that you really got to keep moving. You really got to keep moving when fighting Frankenstein's monster, because he is a pain. And you got to keep moving here too, because, see that? There's also a chance, though, that he will not bring his neck down like that. And, of course, I want that. And by the time I got over there, boom, it was gone. Ugh. But this little stupid hunchback, he is such a pain in my... He is such... Oh... This is why I say the difficulty spike starts with this stage, and especially with Frankenstein's monster, because, without that little hunchback thing, that little hunchback bastard jumping around, you wouldn't have such a hard time. But, Konami said, we better make this game worth it so that people keep coming back to it, because they were probably thinking about how many times people would want to rent it so that they could finish it. See, look at that. He didn't lower himself that whole time. So that's one factor in which the game and your success might be based on luck. That's why you shouldn't feel too bad about relying on multipliers, like the little Roman numeral things that allow you to shoot your sub-weapon more than once or twice. I get so close here and it just drives me nuts. Ugh. And of course the knife is completely useless. It is, even in... Yeah, I mean, I don't think they had a knife in Rondo of Blood. There was definitely one in Super Castlevania. There were 3 different kinds of daggers in Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. The funny thing, though, all the daggers in that game are useless anyway. They're completely superfluous. You don't need them to complete anything in that game. And what you're going to see here is, I think, the final time that it took me to get through the whole game, including the time that I'm at the game over screen later, was 37 something. Yeah, I just continued right away, but I had to go all the way back here, which is, absolutely miserable. This is like going back to this stage. You almost feel like a victim in the Final Destination movies, that poor SOB who's like chopped into like 3 pieces by a razor wire fence that flies at him after an explosion. That poor bastard. That's kind of how this feels. Except this hurts a lot more. And death is a lot quicker and more instantaneous in Castlevania. I'm over-exaggerating, of course. But, like I said, you gotta watch out for these turkeys. And they're not turkeys. I think they're albatross or something who drop these little hunchbacks. I'd like to know, where are they getting these hunchbacks from anyway? Notre Dame? Does Notre Dame have a cloning facility? Hello, I would like to order clones. I would like to order a clone army of hunchbacks. Is this Notre Dame?
Yes, monsieur, this is Notre Dame. How may we help you?
Yes, this is the cloning facility, right?
Yeah, this is... Yes, this is the cloning facility
in 1600s France.
Would you like to order a vat of clones? We have technologically advanced a way into finding out how to unlock the secrets of the hunchback genome.
Oh, is that so? That is absolutely wunderbar. Wunderbar. Yes, I'd like to order some clones, please. Give me 1 billion. No, I don't think I can afford that many. I'm only Dracula.
Oh, Senor Dracula. Yes. Senor Dracula, I'm most honored to meet your acquaintance.
So yeah, I'm just yay! I actually beat his monster. Oh, that stupid little hunchback. I want to strangle that little bastard. Ugh. He's the bane of my damn existence, I tell you. He's more of a bane to me than Bane was to Batman when he broke his back. Can you imagine that?
Hello, Simon Belmondo. You have made a terrible mistake by coming here, Simon Belmont.
Who the hell are you, and why are you wearing that stupid mask?
Oh, it doesn't matter the reason why I'm wearing this mask, Belmont. When Castlevania is ashes, you have my permission to die.
I understood about 0% of that, maybe less. I don't know why I was bothering messing with that guy. It was just wasting time. See, sometimes you don't even realize that you're doing a speed run. And here's the other thing that might have messed me up. And this was either my overconfidence or something getting in the way. But I was like thinking to myself, I'm okay, playing this game with latex gloves on. See, I had to put moisturizer on my hands because my hands get all cracked and dry, because that's what happens in the Southwest United States. Your hands get dry and cracked and they bleed. So I figured, I'll be okay. And then it wasn't until next stage when I get to Dracula where I really saw, or maybe it might have been just psychological, but I honestly believe it was really screwing up my, ability to concentrate and do the game correctly. And like I said, do not pick up this axe. Do not do that. You want things to be exactly like this. And if there's one thing that I think a lot of these old games, where they made them so difficult when they ported them to the United States, they were trying to make them so difficult that in a way your spirit would be broken because you don't have the right strategy, the right experience, nor the patience for fighting enemies like frickin' Grim Reaper and Frankenstein's monster, who are absolute, monsters for lack of more eloquent wording. I hate these guys. They take like 8 hits unless you're tossing the holy water at them. Tossing a couple holy waters at them almost annihilates them instantaneously. And this is, of course, this part of the game is, of course, notorious because it's like a gauntlet. And you have really got to be good with, you got to really show off some fancy footwork. But more than anything, you need to be able to know how to deploy that holy water with those multipliers. And it shouldn't be that incredibly difficult, but if you're not experienced, even with the multipliers, you might have a bad time. Because you got to know where these enemies are going to be. Like, you got stupid Medusa spawning right behind you. And like I said, I don't feel the least bit shame. See, I threw it behind me for some reason. I don't know why I did that. It's because I have huge thumbs, and I don't know how to... The D-pad's just too small or something. I don't know. I need to get a custom... Not a custom, that's too damn expensive. So yeah, as long as you're deploying the holy water, like right there, in that exact spot, death is a complete chump. I'm sure a lot of people might rather, use a different weapon, like the boomerang, which looks like a cross, so I have always called it a cross, so I always thought that was weird. Why do they call it a boomerang when it's clearly a damn cross? And this stage at the very beginning here is also a gauntlet. But fortunately, I still have the holy water and my multipliers, so getting through it isn't too terribly bad, and I even got through it on the first try. But unfortunately, I made a serious error coming up here. And it's something I think a lot of people speedrunning Castlevania can learn from if you're not, particularly great at it. I think the point of this run is not just to show off myself, although that is, a certain part of it. I feel like this is meant to be something where everybody can learn something from this speed run, because you can see the mistakes I've made. There are plenty of times where I got something right, but there are also plenty of times where I bungled up badly, and you're going to see that here in about 15 seconds or so. You just really got to watch it, because the fortunate thing, here it comes. Yep, I picked up the knife like a dumbass, and I was screaming at the top of my voice because that screwed it up bad. And that's the reason, sadly, why this stupid speed run, quote unquote, is almost 40 minutes long, because I screwed up there and got the knife and completely messed everything up. But most important part was I made it, because once you get here, you can continue indefinitely, no matter how many times Dracula kills you. It's almost in a way kind of like Dracula's curse. See, this is the boomerang right here, and I mean, it's a good weapon to have, but to be fair, if you're really skilled with it, I'm sure you can make pretty short work of Dracula, but I don't have the patience for that. You had to have a lot of patience as it is just for this first form of Dracula, because you got to position yourself in the right place, you got to jump at the right time, and the reason you want to keep moving backwards and forwards like this is because he can potentially materialize anywhere on the screen. So you don't want to be standing when he materializes, otherwise you will take 4 points of damage. And 4 points of damage constitutes, I believe, about 25% of your health. So if you take 4 hits from Dracula at all, you're dead. You're done. And it's going to be very difficult because, as I'm sure you probably already know, Dracula transforms into the evil demonic cookie monster, who's a buddy of mine because he's a fellow demon. He's the guardian of his cookies. Yeah. This was probably pretty freaky for people in that, 87 when this first came out. I think it first came out actually as early as 86 on the MSX, which was the Japanese computer, I believe. That's the game that had the original Metal Gear on it. And we didn't even get to see that until, I think, when they released the special edition of Snake Eater way back in 2005 or 6. No, it was 2005, yeah. And of course, like I said, unfortunately, this is how... It's really hard for me to talk about this because the majority of this run, unfortunately, is me constantly getting my ass kicked by Dracula. And when you've taken this much damage and this many of your lives already taken by Dracula, you get kind of discouraged. I wasn't going to give up though, because I said to myself, well, I'll learn something from it and maybe someone else can too. Because let me emphasize this one more time. I don't think of myself as even an amateur. Well, yeah, this is amateur hour. Anyone who can beat Castlevania is, and I would dare say that they're an amateur. So, okay, I'm an amateur at speedrunning this game, because there are some games that I just can't. I can't. And there's also a lot on the NES that just aren't worth speedrunning anyway, because they're too repetitive. They're just basically the same stage over and over again, with just a few variables, a few modifications thrown in. And I will tell you, I am glad, eternally glad, that Konami decided to do something different when they made Castlevania. They wanted to do something, along the lines of horror in gaming. And I kind of admire how they did that, because 34 years ago, video gaming was still an art form that was not really subject to censorship yet. That wasn't until, the likes of Mortal Kombat and Night Trap came around. It's funny to think about all those idiotic politicians up there talking about Night Trap, one of the goofiest, silliest games of all time, and this self-righteous jerk-off saying, I think showing that is child abuse. What the hell are you talking about? I mean, they think that's child abuse? They really think that the game Night Trap is child abuse? Look, by today's standards, Night Trap would pretty much get a teen rating at most, because there was no violence, there was no nudity. I think there was a woman in a slip at one point, which, ooh, I know, scandalous, right? Positively X-rated. And there was no blood, there was no gore in Night Trap. There wasn't any language, just a lot of... The worst thing about Night Trap was the bad acting. But unfortunately, if there's one thing I have learned in my life, it's that politicians love to spread lies in order to fuel their own BS propaganda. I mean, look at Jack, what's-his-face? Jack Thompson, the lawyer who honestly thought that video games were making people violent. Look, mofo, if violent movies, hardcore gore coming out of the 80s weren't making people violent, then nothing was. But that's not the point. The point is this. Video games don't make anyone violent. They proved this a million different ways. Even Penn and Teller did an episode of their show where they showed, yeah, video games don't cause people to get violent. There is a huge difference between killing a vampire, in a fantasy, and, pulling out a gun in real life. And people did this. Politicians loved to blame the game Doom, instead of having tighter regulations or gun restrictions on people who are potentially mentally ill. And yes, I know I'm going way, way, way off track here, and I'm very, very sorry that we're going this far off track in the discussion. But this does have relevance to the discussion of violence in video games. The point is this: video games do not cause violence. I mean, let's see. Someone else did a video about this recently. It was MatPat from, what's-his-face? Yeah, MatPat. He did a great video, showing how there's only a very, very tenuous, at best, link between video games and violence. From what I've seen, video games... Oh, I was so close. Damn it. Ugh. The Illuminati. 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 Minaughtii. Yeah, Blair. She's awesome. She is friggin' awesome. And she recently did a video about how whether or not the link between violence and video games actually exist. But I remember back in '99, they were saying that, oh, Dylan Klebold and, his buddy or whatever, the reason that they were trying to kill everybody is because they were playing the game Doom or Wolfenstein or something. And it's just insulting to everybody's intelligence, because you can clearly see that they have an agenda. They have their own theories, but they don't have anything to back up their hypothesis. And this is one of many reasons why politicians, generally speaking, are so hated by everyone in the world. Oh, Cookie Monster. You can go to hell, Cookie Monster. Okay, well, it looks like, yeah, this is where I had to continue again. And yeah, this is also where I took my gloves off. Yeah, the gloves come off, Dracula. The gloves come off, Dracula. Let's show me what you got, kid. So, you'll see here in a minute, after I finally beat the living tar out of Dracula, these very bizarre and very strange credits. I was playing the game a couple weeks ago at New Game Plus, which is a really awesome little place that has all kinds of games, including a Vectrix. I think it's a Vectrix, and it uses vector graphics, and it is, even by today's standards, it still looks very, very sweet, because it looks like one of the coolest toys that a kid could ever want. But point being is, I was playing Castlevania on his NES Classic Mini, and it was kind of cool because he was there watching, and I actually beat the game. And it was, I gotta tell you, it's cool to finally have the feeling where you're beating one of the hardest games of all time in front of somebody, anybody even. I mean, I guess it's kind of the way all those amazing speedrunners at GDC feel when all these people clap for them, when they beat, Super Metroid or, any other game in such a ridiculously short amount of time. I remember seeing people from GDC beating Ninja Gaiden 2, all those games, all these super, super hard games where they made no mistakes, and I remember this one guy, he managed to get through Ninja Gaiden in less than 11, I think it was less than 12 minutes. But that was the world record, and it still is the world record. But I don't think they're going to get that any better. But point being, no mistakes in Ninja Gaiden whatsoever? That's incredible. If you'd have told me that one day I'd see someone beating Ninja Gaiden, I would say, you're freaking lying, dude. In less than 12 minutes? Really? With no mistakes? Really? I mean, this is why it takes a lot of... You want to be careful when it comes to confidence, because if you're too overconfident, you're going to be like me, and you're going to overestimate your ability and make yourself a victim of the Dunning-Kruger effect. And, I know Castlevania fairly well, but I don't know it well enough that I can pull off all these incredibly super advanced tactics that you'll see people at Games Done Quick doing. Because those people are amazing. I saw this guy playing Mega Man 8, because Mega Man 8 is one of my favorite in the Mega Man series. But he was doing this trick with this ball weapon that you have, which allowed him to like double, triple, quadruple jump. And I was like, I had never seen anything like that before. And I've been playing that game. I first played that game a quarter of a century ago. And I love that game. I love the music. I'm going off topic again. Anyway, yeah, I think this is where I finally get Dracula. Who gets Humperdinck? I don't understand. At the end, is it Inigo who? Nobody. Nobody gets him. He lives. You mean he wins? Jesus, Grandpa, what'd you read me this thing for? You know, you're very tired and you're very sick and you're very upset. I think we better stop now. Buttercup lived on a farm in the country of Florin. I think this is where I get him, but I don't remember. Yes, here he comes. Okay, Dracula, I'm about to put you back in that coffin, bitch. Let's show this prehistoric bastard how we do things downtown. Downtown Transylvania. I don't know if that joke works. Okay, here we go. Yes, yes, yes! Oh yeah! How's that feel, Dracula? You jerk off. You dumb jerk. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. But like I said, I am forever humiliated and embarrassed that I screwed that run up so bad by getting that stupid knife. And here is the greatest credits of all time. This is what happens when your Viagra wears off. And of course, the music was done by the legendary James Banana and Bram Stoker. Screenplay by Bram Stoker and Christopher B. I remember the AVG superimposing a picture of, Christopher Lee's head on top of a bee. That was funny. Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Love Cheney, Barbara Sherry. I don't know who Barbara Sherry. Mixed Shreks, Love Cheney. I think the programmers let their kids come up with these names. Green Stranger, Cafe Bar Reed, Andre Morrill, Joan Candies. What? And the hero, Simon Belmondo. Thank you for killing me, Simon. I really appreciate that you played the greatest role in the story. Thank you for destroying my castle. Ha ha ha. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night. Bye.